The Nativity play, put together very creatively, I must say, is in two parts. And the two parts are very appropriate. The first part is God's creation. And the second part is Jesus' nativity. So what's the connection between these two? The two connecting stories are very, very interesting. And they both refer to two women who are very prominent in Christian literature and in our liturgy. The first part, of course, the creation, refers to Eve. And the second part, to Mary. We are highlighting God's first promise of a Redeemer in the Garden of Eden. In fact, if you think of it, Eve really did us a favor. Because if she had not done what she did do, we would not have needed a Redeemer. And then we would not have had Christmas. So I'll let the young actors and actresses and the theme of the story reveal it all to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see our little kids doing their thing. Please give them your kind attention.
Good evening. It was on the very day of our fall that God said to the serpent, our corrupter, I shall put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and hers. She shall bruise your head. This was the first promise of our Redeemer. It is you, O Mary, whose fruit will crush the head of the serpent. It is you, O Jesus, who are the blessed fruit, in whom our victory is assured.
In tonight's Nativity play, we are reenacting two biblical stories from the Scriptures. We will display God's creation from the Old Testament and Jesus' nativity from the New Testament in a creative storyline.
We will connect these two biblical stories from Eve to Mary, from the first woman who betrayed God with the temptation, to the chosen woman who accepted the God's plan wholeheartedly. This is to fulfill the Scriptures as God promised in the Garden of Eden. Relax and enjoy our Nativity play. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said,
Let there be light.
And there was light. God separated the light from the darkness, calling light day and darkness night.
And there was evening and there was morning. On the next day, God said,
Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters.
God created a dome to separate the waters and called it sky. On the next day, God said,
Let the waters under the sky be gathered into one place, and let dry land appear.
God created the dry ground and gathered the waters, calling the dry ground land and the gathered waters seas. God also created vegetation, plants and trees.
God created the sun, moon, and stars to give light to the earth, and to govern and separate the day and the night. And there was evening and there was morning. On the next day God said,
Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky.
So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, of every kind, with which the waters swam, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying,
Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth.
And there was evening and there was morning. On the next day God said,
Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind.
And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said,
Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the wild animals of earth, over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.
So God created humankind in his image, in the image of God. He created them, male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them,
Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over every living thing that moves upon the earth.
God saw everything that he made, and indeed it was very good. God had finished his work of creation, and so he rested on the seventh day, blessing it and making it holy.
God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden to care and nurture the land. He told Adam and Eve that they could eat from any fruit from the trees except for the tree of good and evil. God warned them that if they ate from the tree, they would die.
One day, Saturn came disguised as a snake and spoke to Eve.
Eve believed the lie and took a bite of the fruit. She then gave some to Adam for him to eat. Adam and Eve, now knowing that they had sinned, immediately felt ashamed and tried to hide from God.
Adam, have you been eating from the tree I forbid you to eat?
It was the woman you put with me. She gave some fruit from the tree and I ate.
The snake tempted me, and I ate.
I shall put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. It will bruise your head, and you will strike its heel.
pray.
Oh my good child. God bless you. You keep praying, my child. Come and see me when you finish.
Mary accepts God's plan wholeheartedly. Time came near for Mary to have the baby. At the time, Caesar Augustus ordered all the people to go back to their homeland for a census. So Mary and Joseph headed down to Bethlehem, Joseph's hometown.
Yet in thy dust shineth the everlasting light, the hopes and fears of all the years of heavenly tonight.
Mary and Joseph, weary from their long journey, began looking for a place to stay, but there was no room in any of the inns. Finally, they found a nook in a stable to stay the night.
For Christ is born of Mary, and gathered all about.
Time came near for Mary to have the baby.
She gave birth to her son, wrapped him in strips of cloth, and laid him in a manger.
In the nearby hills, there were some shepherds watching their flock at night. Suddenly, an angel of God appeared before them with good news.
Meanwhile, 3 wise men came to Jerusalem to ask King Herod where the King of Jews was born.
Herod was troubled when he heard this, and gathered all the priests and scribes to ask them where this great king was to be born. He sent the wise men to Bethlehem and asked them to visit him again when they returned.
They stopped at the stable, offered their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and worshipped the child Jesus. Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace, for my eyes have seen your salvation. This child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, and the sword will pierce your own soul too.